Okay, let's unpack this. We're doing a deep dive today into, well, into Ecclesiastes, specifically chapter 7.
Right.
And our goal really is to pull out some of the, key insights, maybe some surprising ideas about life, wisdom, all that stuff from this ancient source.
Yeah, and it really does challenge uh, some very common ideas almost right away.
Get ready for that because, yeah, it does.
What I find fascinating is how chapter 7 just immediately kind of confronts what we think is good.
Hmm.
It kicks off saying a good name is better than fine perfume. Okay, that feels fairly, intuitive.
Sure, makes sense.
But then, almost in the next breath, it hits you with, the day of death is better than the day of birth.
Whoa, hold on. Better than the day of birth. That's quite a perspective shift right there.
It is stark, isn't it? And it keeps going down that path.
How so?
Well, it follows up saying it's better to go to a house of mourning than, say, a house of feasting.
Okay, so why? Why does the text seem to value sorrow and, well, confronting death like this?
The source links it straight to wisdom. It suggests that the wise person's heart is in that house of mourning.
Really contemplating things.
Exactly. Engaging with reality, the tough parts,
Hmm.
while, the fool's heart is supposedly in a house of pleasure, just distracted by, well, fleeting fun.
Hmm.
And it explicitly states sorrow is better than laughter. Because, and this is kind of the core of it, a sad face is good for the heart.
Good for the heart. So the idea is that facing difficulty, maybe even sadness, it builds a kind of depth, something that easy happiness just doesn't offer.
Precisely. It's not advocating misery for misery's sake, but suggesting there's a substance, a wisdom gained through adversity.
It's definitely not a perspective you hear celebrated much today.
Yeah.
And sticking with that theme, the text really values wisdom and, well, even tough feedback, right? Over just empty praise.
Oh, absolutely. There's a really sharp contrast drawn. It is better to heed a wise man's rebuke, it says, than to listen to the song of fools.
The Song of Fools.
Yeah, and it uses this image. The laughter of fools is like the crackling of thorns burning under a pot.
Ah, so it's noisy, burns out fast, and is ultimately useless.
Exactly. Just empty noise, no real substance or lasting value.
Okay. And it's not all philosophical, right? There are practical warnings mixed in too.
Yes, definitely. Like, it cautions against corruption. It notes that extortion can twist even a wise person, make them foolish,
And bribes too.
and bribes corrupt the heart. So yeah, wisdom isn't just abstract thinking. You have to guard against these real-world pitfalls.
Right, practical stuff.
It also advises patience, not pride, and warns against romanticizing the past, asking, why were the old days better? He says that's not a wise question.
Interesting. Don't get stuck looking back.
Right. It really builds a strong case for just how valuable wisdom is. It calls it an inheritance, a shelter.
Even better than money.
Even better than money, because the text says wisdom preserves the life of its possessor.
Okay, so if wisdom is this powerful, this protective, this essential thing, then why is life still so, messy, unpredictable, often frustrating? The text seems to wrestle with that too.
It absolutely does. It's very honest about things being outside our control. It asks, who can straighten what God has made crooked?
Meaning we can't fix everything or understand everything?
Pretty much. It points out that God is behind both good times and, well, times of adversity. And because of that, you can't really figure out the future or even fully grasp why things unfold the way they do.
And that leads to seeing these frustrating situations, right? Like the text mentions seeing good people perish early while wicked people live long lives.
Exactly, these paradoxes.
So given all that uncertainty and unfairness, what's the advice? It sounds kind of surprising.
It is a bit. The advice is basically, don't go to extremes. Don't be overrighteous or overwise.
Overwise. How can you be overwise?
Maybe to the point of like paralysis or self-destruction, becoming too rigid perhaps, isolating yourself.
Huh. Okay. And the flip side.
Don't be over wicked or a fool either. And, die before your time.
So find some kind of middle ground.
The text suggests the person who fears God, who has that foundational reverence, will kind of navigate these complexities and avoid those destructive extremes.
Okay, so despite the frustrations, wisdom is still presented as powerful, more effective than, 10 rulers?
Yeah, one wise person is stronger than 10 rulers in a city. So wisdom still has immense practical strength.
But then almost immediately another paradox, right?
Yep. It balances that right away by stating very bluntly, there isn't a single righteous person on earth who always does good and never sins.
We're all flawed, every single one of us.
Exactly. Universal imperfection. And maybe because of that, the source advises, don't listen too closely to everything people say about you.
Why is that?
because you might just overhear your own servant cursing you.
Huh. Okay, a reality check.
Yeah, and it adds that little kicker.
Yeah.
You know perfectly well in your own heart that you yourself have cursed others many times. Bit of self-awareness there.
So the teacher figure, the voice in Ecclesiastes, really tried to get his head around all this complexity,
Mhm.
searching for wisdom, trying to figure out the scheme of things, as it says, wickedness, folly, all of it.
He did. He tested it all diligently. But his conclusion,
It was ultimately beyond him, too deep.
yeah, wisdom remained distant, profound, not fully graspable, even after intense effort. His search uncovered a lot of difficult truths, though.
Leading to that final overarching observation in the chapter,
The synthesis of everything he observed, all the struggles and paradoxes.
which was,
Simply this: God made mankind upright,
okay, started out good.
but men have gone in search of many schemes, or inventions, or complications, depending on the translation.
Many schemes. That's the source's final word for this chapter, wrapping up all that reflection on sorrow, complexity, wisdom's limits, and our flaws.
It is. Life is complex, sometimes sorrowful, often paradoxical. Wisdom helps, but doesn't solve everything. And fundamentally, despite an upright origin, humans actively pursue their own complicated ways, their schemes.
So after this deep dive into chapter 7, maybe the thought to leave you with is this. The source says we were made upright, but we actively seek out these schemes. Given that view, how might recognizing your own tendencies towards, complicated schemes or plans change how you try to navigate the complexities and the paradoxes that life inevitably throws your way? Something to mull over.